Welcome to Mindful Awakening. I am so glad that you are here. And we're going to work with some of my favorite stuff tonight. And that's a combination of gratitude, death, clarity. And I was inspired to do this practice tonight because I don't know if it's not exactly nostalgia that I've been experiencing. That's not the right word. I've been experiencing this kind of gratitude and appreciation for the people I've been and the lives I've lived. And even today, a really old friend of mine sent me some photos from when we were late teens, early 20s. It's just kind of reflecting back on, just this unfolding of life, these different versions of what my life looked like and what was important to me, what my priorities were. And just having all this love and respect and appreciation for what was important to me. And even if now it might seem less important or even unhealthy in some way or limiting in some way, I've just been leaning into this feeling of oh yeah, that's what mattered to me at that time. That's what felt important. That's what felt vital. That's who I was. And of course that, also leads to thinking about, well, what's important, what's vital today? What are my priorities today? What feels most important? What feels most alive? Where am I putting my attention? What am I practicing? Because, of course, where we put our intention and attention, what we practice, that's the soil for our lives. That's what our lives grow from. And I think a lot of people have been kind of hanging out with this, given the strangeness of life, especially lately. Just hanging out with what's actually important to me. One really quick way to get clear on that is to just ask, if I were to die in a year, what would I be doing? And then you can shrink that time down. What if I had 6 months? What if I had a week? What if I had 5 minutes? What would be most important? What would be most vital? What would I do if there were just 5 minutes remaining? I want to encourage you, if this is activating in a way that's uncomfortable, that you use that resource practice. You find something either internally or externally that can feel stabilizing, safe, grounding, good, even neutral. Because, this is what we're, a lot of the time, all the time, I don't know, trying to avoid. The fact that this whole life thing is not permanent. And so when we check in and we ask those questions of, well, if I had a year to live, if I had 6 months, if I had a week, if I had 5 minutes, if we're really willing to just drop in and listen, there can be some real clarity in that. There can also be some really beautiful gratitude. For some of you, you might ask that question and the answer might partially or even mostly be, if I had a year, I'd be doing exactly what I'm doing. If I had 6 months, if I had a week. There might be some gratitude for the aspects of life that are really in alignment for you. And then these inquiries, they do bring the clarity as well. Right? What are the aspects of life that would just fall right off if you knew you only had a week or 6 months or even a year? So just taking a moment here, breathing. Maybe just noticing what's happening in the face, the throat, the chest, the stomach. Just checking in with these emotional centers in the body. Now, some of you might do some version of death inquiry every day, but I know for some, it's probably the last thing you want to do, and I get it. I get it. And I tell you, when I used to teach in person, every time I would do this practice that we're going to do, or a version of this practice, there was inevitably somebody there in the class who had just lost a loved one. It happened like every single time. And these videos end up being seen by a lot more people than would come to my classes in person. And so I'm sure that's going to be the case. And then when you add in the fact that we're in the midst of a global pandemic, probably some of you who are watching now or watch the replay have lost people. And so I know sitting and considering death might not be what you're in the mood for. And so I want to encourage you to maybe come back to this later, or hang out, but just take like what you like and leave the rest. What I found with these classes in person, where there was, strange synchronicity of doing this inquiry and having someone there in the class who'd lost a loved one, the reports that person would give, it was always really beautiful and really profound. When we're grieving, the avoidance of that grief, the avoidance of death, of dying, of what it is to be human, doesn't actually ultimately help us process our grief. Denial can be a healthy and normal aspect of it, but ultimately, it's also important to look right at it, to feel it, to experience it. I think that's a big reason why shortly after my dad died, I worked in hospice for a while. I did a bunch of volunteering, and then I actually ended up taking a job as a volunteer coordinator at a hospice, which was an amazing experience. But I think it was part of the way that I was grieving. And I imagine at some point I'll probably do that work again, because I find it just to be so incredibly rewarding, honestly. So powerful, so moving. But at that time, I really think it was part of my grieving process, was to just like look at death and dying right up close. So this practice can help with processing grief and death and dying, but it can also drop us right into some clarity and some gratitude as well. Or maybe a combination of all of that. So I want to share with you where we're going ultimately in this practice, though we're going to do a bit more than just this. So there is a teacher and author named Stephen Batchelor, who wrote a book called Buddhism Without Beliefs, as well as a few other great books. And he has a chapter in Buddhism Without Beliefs called Death. And at the beginning of that chapter, he has this inquiry, which goes, "Since death alone is certain, and the time of death is uncertain, what should I do?" So we're going to move into that in the meditation, except I make a subtle change. I don't like the word should. So I try my best not to incorporate it into the way I talk to myself or others. And so I like to say, since death alone is certain and the time of death is uncertain, what am I going to do? It could also be, what do I want to do? It could be, what is in alignment? It can be really whatever you like, that feels like it moves you towards this question of like, what's true for me? What's alive for me? What's vital for me? And so we're going to move into that inquiry, but first we're just going to spend a little bit of time in some gratitude. And then we'll move into that, and then maybe we'll move into some more gratitude. We'll see how it goes. Again, I want to encourage you, if at any time you feel overwhelmed by the practice, that you use resource, that you take care of yourself in that way. For some of us, it's like talking about death and dying, especially those of us who've spent a lot of time, around Buddhism. It might not feel like a big deal, but for some of us, it's something that we don't think about or talk about at all. I definitely went through a phase where I just talked about it all the time, which isn't necessarily the kindest way to go, because it sort of forces others to deal with something they don't want to deal with. But it felt really important. I did the same thing with sex. I talked about sex all the time. I like to talk about the topics that make people uncomfortable, I guess. I'm a little more gentle these days, with myself and with others in general. But a lot of us don't talk about death or think about death. And so this can be a really activating or challenging practice. Can be kind of intense. It can also, just be another meditation. So there's no expectation for how it should be for you. All right. So we'll go ahead and move into it. I want to encourage you to find a posture that feels supported and comfortable, and ideally upright. And if not upright, maybe lying flat on your back. And you can see I'm upright, but I do have support. I have pillows and cushioning behind my back to help me with sitting up straight because that's what my body needs. So do what you need to do for your body. Okay. Settling into your posture, closing your eyes if that's how you practice. Go ahead and notice the sensation of your body sitting or lying down. Just notice what your body's making contact with, that sensation of being supported by whatever is under you, whatever's behind you, perhaps. Intentionally drawing in some relaxation, inviting it to spread down from your head, through your face, down into your neck and your arms and your hands. Let that wave of relaxation continue to move down into your torso, front and back, down into the hips and the seat and the pelvis, and down into both of your legs and your feet. And just take a moment to find yourself relaxed to whatever degree is available and grounded to whatever degree is available. Remembering that you have the support of whatever is under you, which has the support of the earth, ultimately. And you have the support of gravity, which is drawing you down into the support of the earth. Nice. Okay, so we're going to start by bringing attention to the breath. Allow yourself to breathe naturally and normally. You don't need to control the breath in any way. You don't need to take particularly deep breaths. We're not doing any kind of yogic breathing, just allowing your body to breathe with as little interference as possible. And we're just bringing mindful attention to that process of breathing. Bringing our physical awareness to the feeling. Pointing attention at that process of the breath. Okay. So now, after your next exhale, pause before your inhale. Just a slight pause, enough to allow for some hunger for oxygen in the body. Not so much that you get lightheaded or you start tightening up, just enough that you notice it, and that when you take the next inhale, there is a sense of spontaneous, natural gratitude in the body. So let's try that for a few breaths or so. Completing the exhale, pausing, and then on the inhale, just notice how the body delights in that inhale. How the body says thank you in sensation. There's a pleasure when the body gets the oxygen that it needs. You can also do this the other way with the exhale. But let it be easy. So we're not doing it to the point where we're lightheaded or in any kind of pain. A little bit of discomfort is okay. And just keep noticing that natural gratitude that arises when the body breathes. And you might just add in the thought here that this is giving you life. Without this next breath, you can't live. Noticing if that potentially brings up any kind of gratitude, appreciation. It might be quite subtle, or it might be really obvious. But for most of us, there is a sense of a kind of gratitude or appreciation for the breath. When we add in that little pause, it makes it more obvious. Good. Okay, just let your breath go back to its own natural pace and rhythm. You can let go of that aspect of the exercise. And just take a moment to check in and notice if anything tightened up, and just encouraging softening through the body again. Now I just want you to bring to mind someone or something that easily sparks gratitude for you. That when you think of this person or place or thing, you immediately feel a sense of gratitude in the body. So perhaps not someone you have a complicated relationship with, unless you're feeling really grateful for what you're learning through that complicated relationship, maybe. But make it easy for yourself. So bringing up something, someone, somewhere that easily connects you to a sense of gratitude. And we'll just take a moment with this. You'll be bringing it up in your mind, maybe creating visuals, maybe it's words, maybe there's just sort of a mental sense of this person, place, or thing. As you know, I can easily feel some gratitude when I think about my little dog, when I think about my niece and my nephews. I often share that. Those are kind of my go-tos for positivity, for pleasure, for gratitude. So maybe there's something, someone, somewhere that that does that for you. If you're not sure, then just go ahead and explore, bringing different options to mind until you really feel that spark of gratitude, that spreading of gratitude in your body. Good. Now, if there's anything else you'd like to bring up that helps you to feel gratitude, feel free. Okay. And now within this container of gratitude, we're going to start to move into the inquiry. So I give you the option to just stick with gratitude if that's feeling like a good spot for you right now, or to go back to focusing on the breath or relaxing the body. Lots of options here. Or if it feels in alignment for you, you can move into the inquiry with me. So I'll just say it a few times and offer a few bits of guidance with it. But it's really going to be your own adventure, your own journey. And there's not a right way to experience this inquiry. There's not a right answer to come. Maybe no answer comes at all. Maybe it's just a feeling in your body. Maybe an image comes up that feels meaningful. But let go of any expectation around what this inquiry should do or what you're supposed to do with it. And let it be a journey, let it be an adventure. Drop into the flow of it, let it unfold in just the way it needs to today. So dropping this question into the depths of your being. If death is the only thing that's certain, and the time of death is uncertain, what am I going to do? If death is the only thing that is certain, and the time of death is uncertain, what am I going to do? Let it in deep. Let the question, the inquiry, move into your body, into your blood, into your bones. Let it explore the pathways of your brain. Let it into your beautiful human heart, your emotional heart, your spiritual heart, even your anatomical heart. If death is the only thing that is certain, and the time of death is uncertain, what am I going to do? You can ask yourself the question as many times as you like, or you can just release it and notice what comes up. Work with this in the way that feels most meaningful, most impactful, most appropriate for you today. If death is the only thing that's certain, we know that it's going to happen, even if we pretend we don't. We know it's going to happen to us and everyone we love. It is certain. And not only humans, but animals and plants and companies and trees and stars. Everything, as far as we know. The only thing that's certain, death. And the time of death is uncertain. We don't know when it's going to happen. We can't know. The time of death is uncertain. If both of those are as true as they can be, death being certain and the time of death being uncertain, what am I going to do? What is most important? What is most vital? What is most alive? What do I actually want? Down in the deepest parts of me, what do I actually want? What really matters? No matter what we do, death is coming. We don't know when. What are you going to do? Beautiful. I'd like us to move back into a few moments of gratitude, and we can keep it really simple. Just the gratitude that you're here, that for right now, you're alive, that you get to take this next breath, experience this next thought, this next sensation. Just some simple gratitude for this heart that is beating. Simple gratitude for just being alive. And if life is really tough right now and that doesn't feel like something that you have a lot of gratitude for, maybe just consider some gratitude for the fact that since you are here and you are alive, it's possible that it could get better. It's possible. Opening up to that possibility. Taking one more moment here just to be with that simple gratitude for this breath, for this heartbeat, for this life. Okay. Taking your time as you're ready, can slowly start to bring a little bit of movement into the body. Begin to blink the eyes open. Thank you so much for practicing with me. I see you and I love you.